always great to have Brendon Gale, Richmond CEO. He's become an icon of the Richmond Footy Club now. He's always been one of the greats as a player and as an administrator, but boys, he got this club cooking. And he joins us for a chat. Welcome to you, Brendon. Great to have you back.
Great to be with you, Dwayne.
It's exciting to know that you're going to get fans back. We were talking a little bit earlier on about how whether you are confident that fans will come back, whether you've got anything that is going to entice families to come back to the footy. Do you know what kind of numbers you might get?
No, look, we don't at this stage, Dwayne, but it is exciting. Look, I've had some discussions with the MCC and there's been some general discussions with the AFL. They have been of a general nature, but all the signs, all the indications are very positive. I was lucky enough to spend a little bit of time at the tennis this year, and there were some constraints there, of course, but there's a real vibe. There's a real excitement that people had the break over the festive season, and we're looking at coming out and leaning into the next year, including footy. So we're really positive. We exist for our members. We exist because of our members, and we want to do everything we can for our members and fans to get them back to the footy, and importantly, to make that process of getting to the footy as simple as possible.
So how do you do that, Brendon, given that some elderly members, and we had a couple of callers earlier today, they don't know how to, do the mobile phone thing. They don't have a smartphone. Do you know how the entry process is going to work? Will it be cardless? Can you take your membership card? What's going to happen?
Look, we don't know. We have no real sort of clarity at this stage, Dwayne. All we know is that the indications are that we're going to have some good sized crowds, and that I think maybe government and the AFL are looking to sort of enable that to get the crowds back, to get the footy back, and so beyond that, in terms of the specifics, I'm not really sure at this stage, but clearly it's in our interests to make that process as I said, simple as possible, because notwithstanding the constraints last year, I mean, getting there was problematic for many, including myself. So we want to make it as simple as possible.
Do you think that it's going to be a long-term thing, that you're going to have to be vaxxed to go, that this is going to be, a year's thing, or do you think that there will be a point in 6 or 7 months' time where you might be able to go to the footy if you're unvaxxed?
Look, I don't know, Dwayne. That's the short answer. I don't know the mid-term, the long-term, the nature of these things. I'm not an epidemiologist. I don't know. All I do know is that we have to take all the precautions that are being encouraged, that are necessary to get to the footy. Now, right now, that's about health and hygiene and distancing and the like, but clearly it's about vaccinations. We're required to be, as employees, as players of the football clubs of the AFL, we are required to be fully vaccinated, and clearly the stadiums have got their requirements as well. So all we know is we have to take the precautions that we need to keep ourselves safe and well and to get to the footy and to make that process as simple as possible.
You've gone co-captains. Why?
Because our people wanted it. Dwayne, that's the short answer. I think we had a very a sort of a long and rigorous process, and clearly the players have a strong involvement, the coaches, football department staff, and we had two players in Dylan and Toby that were outstanding characters, outstanding competitors, true team men. And they ticked all the boxes in terms of leadership attributes. It's probably fair to say we did go into the process assuming we'd have a single captain, mainly because that's what we've done in the past, and the last one was pretty good. It seemed to work. But as we got deeper into this process, the strengths of these individuals, the complementary strengths became more and more apparent. And just like in golf sometimes, Dwayne, you've got to play the ball as it lies. And that's the way we just think it's a really strong decision, bearing in mind the attributes of the players involved. But also it serves the overall sort of system of the club really well. this is a big industry. We're a big club, very complex. We think the model will serve us very, very well. But most importantly, we're absolutely confident our players will get behind these leaders and follow them.
Yeah, it's a great idea. I like it. But if you're going to have two, you could have had three. Why not Dustin Martin? Why couldn't he be one of three? Did he not want it?
No, because basically that's how the ball lied. One of the things that gave me great encouragement through this whole process, Dwayne, was the breadth and the depth of our leadership. I mean, there wasn't one automatic standout. And when I turn my mind back to, many, many years ago, 2012-13, there was probably one natural sort of candidate, and that was Trent Cotchin. I mean, this time around, with incredible breadth and depth. A lot of players were identified as having the ability and the necessary attributes, but at the end of the day, it's the players, it's the coaches, it's the football department that talk, and the support for both Dylan and Toby was very, very strong.
It's been great to watch the evolution. I've always been a Damien Harwick fan. As a player, he was sensational the way he went about it at Essendon and at Port Adelaide, and I know you would have loved him as well. As a coach, he's been this evolutionary watch. Even talking about his personal life this last week, it seems as if, he's open to talking about his breakup. How have you seen the evolution of your coach?
Oh, look, it's been a privilege, to be honest. I think early on it's been well documented. I think Damien's comes from an accountancy background, which might surprise a lot of people. He's always been a very curious person, really committed to self-improvement, self-development, which is one of the real attributes we identified early in the piece, and why he was selected as coach. We always felt he had the ability to evolve with the game as the game changed because of his curiosity. I think early on, it's probably fair to say he's very task-focused. More around sort of the science of coaching, and I think there came a time where he, I guess, became more proficient in the art of coaching, and that relationships really matter, and a key to having strong relationships is being a really open book and open and transparent, and I think that's Damien, and I think he's really modelled that sort of behaviour around authentic leadership throughout the whole club, and an indifferent year last year. We obviously didn't make the finals, but there's a real clarity of focus with Damien this year, and I'm really excited. And it's not just Damien; it's the entire group, and I feel really strong and excited about the year ahead.
Did you set about trying to make it this close-knit, really friend-oriented group that had the openness when you became CEO because you thought that would work? Or has it just evolved to this point, Brendon, where you've realised, hey, this is what we are? And because right now when someone mentions the Richmond Football Club, the image that is conjured in the mind of a person is completely different to the image that you would have thought of 12 years ago.
No, it evolved. One of the things we do well, Dwayne, as a footy club is we fail well. There's no point just failing and not grasping the lessons that you served up. And I think we reflect, we review, and we renew. And I think, we had a really tough year. We had tough years in 13, 14, 15. We were making finals and obviously not getting far. In 2016, we took a step backwards. But that probably provided us with a burning platform to revisit a few things. And probably the way we wanted to develop leadership at our club. And I think often as leaders we feel what a leader must do is just spin the wheels harder and faster and work harder and faster, but really it's being a leader is about being yourself and your whole self, and as I said, that's not an easy thing to do, but it's something we try and stay true to that, and we accept people for what they are, and if people have the freedom and the courage to be themselves, they perform at their optimum and build really strong relationships. So that's what we do, and there's a really shared understanding throughout the whole club, Dwayne, of what it takes to be a leader of Richmond Football Club, and I think Damien's modelled that exceptionally well.
Sounds like you think you might be extremely dangerous when it comes to being a premiership contender this season then, Brendon, if you got a lot of learnings out of the failings, even though it wasn't, a grand failing last year. There were some failings to learn out of.
Oh, we've taken a lot out of last year, Dwayne. Firstly, we probably had the time to reflect and to gather those really important insights and the evidence and the data, and then adjust and change and reposition accordingly. So, no, we feel very strong. Now, I'm not sure where that takes us, of course, but I feel very strongly that we'll respond. I can see the narrative that's being sort of written for us. It's Richmond have done, they climbed the mountain and they're on the way down, and I sense that, and I know that's sort of how the media works, but that's not us. That's not us. So where it takes us, I don't know, but we're a proud group, and we'll respond.
Fine line between letting players be who they are, and most players are risk takers at some level, and a guy like Sydney Stack jumping on the cliff. How did you see that and the reaction to it? Do you address it with him and say, would rather you didn't do it every week, but hey, it was, because it seemed as if you almost celebrated it as a club, that individuality?
Well, look, a non-event really, Dwayne, to be honest. Look, I wasn't even aware of it to be honest till after, but I found out subsequent to it. Look, we've got a saying, it's just we're proud to be, and Sydney's a unique character, and we celebrate that, and he's proud to be. So, I mean, players have, free to live their lives and make their own decisions. It comes with limits, but from our point of view, I think some of the senior players might have picked it up and had a bit of a chat with Sydney, but a non-event largely.
But there are limits, and it's just about reconfirming the want for individuality, but also making sure it's not too crazy.
That's right. It's a fine line. But the fine line we're used to straddling, Dwayne. So move on.
Dangerous line when it comes to finances, Brendon. The AFL recorded a $43 million loss for 2021. Your thoughts on that? You probably saw it coming. How's your club coped? And what do you think the AFL will do to get back on track?
Oh, look, we're not privy to the details, but I'm not surprised. This has been a global pandemic health disaster without precedent, and trying to manage a truly national competition, with the exception of Tasmania, Dwayne, I might add. But trying to manage a national competition is extremely complex. I think the AFL have done an exceptional job in leading their way through this crisis. Really, I mean, it's a crisis, and it's been ongoing. We're into our third year. It's been an incredibly expensive exercise. I mean, our revenues have been smashed, and we've had to sort of cut our cloth accordingly. But we're still extremely grateful to be able to play and support our livelihoods. And I think it's really important for the community that we've continued to play. But it's not inexpensive, so I'm not surprised. But I think the AFL have done a magnificent job.
You mentioned Tassie, the CEO's vote, I think in a few weeks from now. Do you think it'll be a favourable vote? Will we be celebrating a Tassie in date?
I don't know. I don't know how what the other cards are, Dwayne. Look,
sorry, it's the presidents that vote, not the CEOs. But you know where I'm going.
Yeah, I know where you're going. Yeah, look, at the end of the day, I'm an open book. I'm biased. But look, I'd love to see a Tasmanian team. I think they've got a legitimate right to win the competition, and where there's a will, there's a way. It's not without complexity, clearly, and I think would only boost our credentials as a truly national competition, and I just think it'd be accretive to the entire undertaking of AFL, Australian rules football in this country.
Which sort of reminds me of the line I draw to the AFLW, and you can tell me whether this is a fair analogy or not, but it seems as if there's some problems trying to get the AFLW 100% right. But it seems as if the positives of having an 18-team AFLW way outweigh the negatives. Is that the way you see it with the AFLW and the way you see it with Tassie coming in as a 19th team?
Yeah, to some extent, yeah. I mean, it's interesting. You know, one of the great decisions the AFL, and probably, you know, to be fair, probably Gale made, is they just threw caution to the wind and said, you know what, let's do this. And I think the AFLW competition was earmarked for maybe 19 or 20, but at about 2014-15, they said, let's just do it. Let's just wing it. Let's just figure it out. And sometimes that's the best way to lead. And we figured it out through trial and error, and it's a bloody good comp. It's going well, and we see improvement every year and week to week. So it was conceived in the spirit of adventure and optimism, and so too was expansion. Let's just, you know, we decided to expand the competition and threw caution to the wind because I think we've got permission to do that. Maybe some people see Tasmania in the same way, but that's not up to me.
No, but it'd be a great pep talk to give the presidents, wouldn't it? Let's just throw caution to the wind and we'll do this, and it'll work, and the positives outweigh the negatives. Yeah,
well, that'll be sort of above my pay grade, but yeah, look, it'll be wonderful. That's you know, I think it'll take its course, but at the end of the day, it's about the Tigers, mate, and we're looking forward to a really strong and exciting season.
Nice full stop on the interview, Brendon. Nothing's above your pay grade one day, mate. You'll be running the AFL soon, won't you?
Before a little segue, mate. Before I go, can I just give a pump up to we've got an open training session this Saturday morning. I think gates open at 8:15. Sausage sizzle, free entry, all that. We're having a Guernsey presentation with our 2022 players, followed by match scrimmage, match practice. So it'll be the possibles, probables, young. It'll be a really good hit out. Weather looks fantastic, and encourage all our members and fans to get to Punt Road Saturday morning.
Back over it. What was the time again? Let's back over it. Make sure you're there, Tiger fans.
Yeah, so gates open at 8:15, and I think match scrimmage, match practice at about 9:30. So free entry, sausage sizzle, you know the deal. It'll be a great day, great morning.
You can come on the show and pump your team up anytime you like, Brendon. Always a delight to have a chat to you. We'll talk soon.
Thanks, Dwayne. All the best, mate.
Brendon Gale, Richmond CEO. And if you want to learn more about memberships at Richmond as well, you can head to richmondfc.com.au or 1300 Richmond to become a member in 2022 as the club pushes for 100,000 members again.